Alright, good morning guys. So today I'm going to teach you about the Pythagorean theorem, which is, it's an equation that can be used to solve for the lengths of different segments of a right triangle. So first I'm going to explain what a right triangle is for anyone who doesn't know. So this is what it looks like. What makes it a right triangle is that the legs, which I'll go ahead and explain the legs in Spanish, is the piernas. The legs, when they meet up, they create a 90-degree angle right there. So that's what makes it a right triangle. It's not a triangle that looks like this or like this. It's got the 90-degree angle. So that's how you can identify a right triangle. So to start off, I'm going to go over a couple key vocabulary words that you need to know and go over them in English and Spanish just so we all make sure that we're understanding. So like I said, the legs are the piernas, and then so we have the hypotenuse also. And the hypotenuse in Spanish is hipotenusa, and this is the hypotenuse right here. It's always the diagonal line, and then the shape that we have is the triangle, which is the triangulum. So, let's just go over those again really quick. We have the triangle, which is the
triangle,
and the hypotenuse, which is the
hypotenuse,
and the legs, which are the
piernas.
Yes. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and teach you guys the equation. It's super simple. We have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, so the legs are A and B, and the nice thing about the legs is it doesn't matter which one is which, you just need to know which one you're working with for each leg. So, for today I'm going to have A be the vertical segment and B be the horizontal segment. And then the most important thing is that you know that C is always the hypotenuse. So, and the hypotenuse is the diagonal line, right? So, okay, so we have the legs, which are which letters?
A and B.
And then hypotenuse is?
C.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to ask you what the hypotenuse is several times between this lesson because it's very important. Okay, so, like I said, I'm going to do the strategy called I do, we do, you do. And so I'm going to work two problems by myself where you don't help me at all. And then we're going to do a problem together where we just kind of work together. And then I'm going to have you come up to the board and do one by yourself so we can see if you're grasping the concept. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so for our first one, we have the A is going to be equal to 3, B is 4, and C, that's our unknown. So, the first step that I would do is you go and you plug in what you know. So we have the A is 3, so we're going to make that 3 squared, plus B is 4, so we have 4 squared, and we don't know C squared, so we're going to just carry down the C squared, okay? So, now, y'all have heard of PEMDAS, right, from learning how to solve for X?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to use PEMDAS right now. So, we don't have any parentheses that we need to work out, so we're good there. We do have exponents, though. So we're going to go solve our exponents. 3 squared is 9, plus 4 squared is 16, is equal to c squared. Now, we've got to leave the square exponent here because we don't know what c is. But we'll come back to that later, and we'll get rid of it, okay? So our next thing is multiplication and division, which we don't have anything of in this equation. And then we have addition and subtraction is our last thing. So we have 9 plus 16 is 25, and that's going to be equal to c squared. Now we need to get rid of that exponent because the c isn't completely by itself, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in order to get rid of c, or of the square root, or the square, is we're going to take the square root. And I'm going to show you why that works. So let's just take 2 for example. We know that 2 times 2 is 4, correct?
Yes.
And we also know that 2 times 2 is 2 squared, correct?
Yes.
Which is also equal to 4. So, if you take the square root of 2 squared, which is also equal to 4, we know that the square root of 4 is 2, correct?
Yes.
So, that means that the square root of 2 squared is also 2, since 2 squared is equal to 4. So that's why taking the square root of the square cancels each other out. They cancel each other out, and we just have the value. So in this case, c. All right?
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do to get rid of the exponent. We're going to take the square root of both sides. So that leaves us with 5 equals c. So our value for the hypotenuse is 5 for this equation. All right, do you have any questions on this?
No.
Do you understand why we get rid, or why we take the square root to get rid of the square?
Yes.
Okay. And just a quick review, what's c?
The hypotenuse.
Or the...
Hypotenuse.
Perfect. Okay, so do one more by myself. Then we'll work it together. Then you're on your own. Okay, so for this one, we have the value for the hypotenuse. It's going to be 25. A is going to be 7, and we don't know B. So B is our unknown in this case. It'll be a little bit more tricky, but not very much. Okay, so we know A. We know that A is 7. So we've got 7 squared, plus we don't know B. So we're going to carry down our B squared. And then we know that C is 25, so we've got 25 squared. All right?
Right.
So then we have 7 squared, which is 49, plus b squared is equal to 25 squared. Does anyone know what 25 squared is?
No.
Okay, we're going to work it out. So, let's do some old-fashioned multiplication. So we got 25 times 25. Got 5 times 5 is 25. So we're going to carry that 2 up there. 10, 12. We have the 0 for the placeholder. 10, 4, 5. All right, so we have 625. Okay. Okay, so we have 625 right there. So now we're going to do 625 minus 49 to get rid of the 49 over here, right?
Right.
So we're going to do a little bit of math there too. Okay, so we can't do 5 minus 9, so we're going to borrow from there. 15, 6. 15 minus 9 is 6. And we've got 5 here. 11 minus 4 is 7, and then we bring down the 5. So 576. That's what we've got. Oops. So we carry down our b squared. What was the number that I came up with? Do you remember?
576.
Thank you. 576. Okay, so we got to get rid of the square root, or the square again, so we're going to take the square root. B is equal to, and this number is, I know the answer, it's 24. So, that means that our value for B is 24. Do you have any questions there?
No.
Do you see how even, we didn't have a calculator, because we can't always use a calculator, we might not always have one, but we were able to just do some simple subtraction and multiplication to work out the problem?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So, this is the one we're going to work together, so you're going to have to help me on this one. Okay. So, for this problem, we're going to have C again. C is going to be 41, and C is the what?
Hypotenuse.
Or the,
Hypotenuse.
and then A and B are the,
Legs.
or the,
Pianus.
and then what's the shape?
Triangle.
Or the,
Triangle.
perfect, okay. So we have 9 for A, and then we don't know B. Again, so, what is the first thing you would do here?
You would plug in 9 for A.
Yep.
So it would be 9 squared plus B squared.
And why do we not put in a value there?
Because we don't know B yet.
Perfect. What does that mean? Are we going to want b by itself in the end?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
And that equals 41 squared.
Yep. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to PEMDAS. What would you do first?
I would do my exponents. So.
And why would we not do parentheses first?
We don't have any parentheses.
You're right. Okay. So good there. So what's our exponents? Do we know 9 squared?
81.
Okay, and then carry down the b squared, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to do a little time saver on the 41 squared. It's 1681. Okay? So now what would we do? We did our exponents. Next is multiplication and division.
We don't have any multiplication or division.
So what does that mean?
We go on to addition and subtraction.
You are right. Okay, so what kind of addition or subtraction are we going to do? Are we going to add 81 and b squared?
No, we're going to subtract 81 from 1,681.
Okay, and we're going to subtract it from 81, right? Because we got to get rid of it?
Yes.
Okay. So that leaves us with b squared is equal to 1,600. Now, 1,600 is a pretty big number to take the square root of, right?
Yes.
But do we know the square root of 16?
Yes, it's 4.
And then do we know the square root of 100?
It's 10.
So what's 4 times 10?
40.
Yep. So what do you think that means b is?
B is 40.
Yes. Okay. It's not too bad, right?
Not awful.
Okay, so you did good on that one. You think you're ready to try one by yourself?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to erase the equation to see if you can remember it. Okay, so you are going to have A is equal to 6 and B is equal to 8. Okay? There you go. I'll take your C while you do it. That is perfect. You did really good. Okay, so I want to go over just a couple of your really good things that you did here. First thing I love that you wrote down the equation first. That is something that when like I'm grading your work, if I see that you at least knew the equation, I can give you some partial credit. So if you mess up somewhere along the way, you at least get some points for knowing the equation. So that's good. I recommend always writing down the equation. Plus, it just helps you be able to see it, and then it goes in your brain more. And then you did really good plugging in the values in the right places. And then I love that you showed that you were taking the square root of both sides. That's really good. And that you were adding here. The one thing I would say, oh, no, because this is a different equation. You're good. I love your work. Okay, so just a couple of review things before we close. So, what was the name of this theorem? Do you remember?
Pythagorean.
The Pythagorean theorem. And our equation was a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And what kind of shape is it used on?
Triangles.
And that's also the
triangle.
And then what kind of triangle is it? Do you remember?
A right triangle.
Right triangle, and then we know that because
Of the box, it's 90 degrees.
And it's 90 degrees because the legs are the piernas. They meet up and create a right angle. And then what is the diagonal line always?
The hypotenuse.
Or the,
Hypotenuse.
and then the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The hypotenuse is the
C.
c. You're right. Okay, so you did really good today. Do you have any questions before we end?
No.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for being such a good student.